There's a moment in childhood when a character doesn't feel like fiction anymore. For a lot of people, that moment wore a red bandana. Raphael wasn't the perfect hero. He was raw, emotional, a little outside the lines. And somehow, that made him feel more real than the rest. He wasn't just someone we watched. He was someone we understood. And stories like that, they don't just stay on the screen. They stay with you. So tonight, this isn't just about a character. It's about what it means to be that character and what carries on long after. Joining us today, the man behind Raphael, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, Kenn Scott.
Hello, can you see me and hear me?
I can. I can see you and hear you. How you doing?
Perfect. How you doing, Dennis?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time and coming on my podcast. I really appreciate that.
Right on, man. Well, I'm looking forward to having some fun.
Yeah, for sure. First, let me say before we start, I'm sure you hear this all the time, probably. I'm a huge Ninja Turtles fan, been my entire life. Some of my fondest memories is growing up with the Ninja Turtles, and especially the movies were a big influence for me in my life. So it's kind of an honor to meet somebody that was in the film, and Raphael especially is like one of my favorite turtles. So
Awesome.
I'm sure that's something you hear all the time in your travels.
Never get tired of hearing it, man. One thing that we know is all me and my turtle buddies is there's a responsibility that goes along with this, and part of that is the Ninja Turtles. It has nothing to do with me. It's the Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles created a mythology and touched a generation and more. And for everything that it meant to those people, for them to be able to then meet somebody in person, whether it's me or Kevin Eastman or anybody, and just have an opportunity to share their thoughts, that's a real blessing for us. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Oh, thank you. Speaking about some of the people that you just mentioned, do you guys still keep in touch? Do you feel like it formed like a brotherhood between you guys? Being part of something like that.
Yeah. Are we in our podcast now?
Yeah, we are.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I get to travel the country and parts of the world actually with a whole group called Turtle Celebration. And that's all cast members from the original movies from the 90s. It's Brian Tochi, the voice of Leonardo, Robbie Riss, the voice of Michelangelo, Ernie Reyes Jr., Judith Hogue, Francois Chow, the Shredder from number 2. Sometimes we travel with James Saito, the Shredder from number 1, Paige Turco, Kevin Clash. So yeah, we're constantly interacting to this day, and some of us are together a couple of times a month at various cons. I just got back from a stretch at Fan Expo in Cleveland, and the very next weekend Fan Expo at Toronto, and was with several other cast members, and we have a great time together.
That's so awesome. I mean, what an experience that it must have gave you like a whole lifetime of like experiences. I mean, I'm sure you didn't start off with your career, because I know you were into martial arts and everything before that, before you got a role on the movie. So is that correct? What did you do before all the turtle stuff happened?
I was going to college.
Yeah.
Basically, when I was 13 years old, I was a martial artist in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I was watching Chuck Norris movies in the theater and Sho Kosugi ninja movies from Canon Films, and I just loved him. And I decided at that time in my life, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an action hero in the movies. That was my goal. And once Jean-Claude Van Damme showed up, he became like exactly what I wanted to do. The apocryphal stories of Jean-Claude Van Damme being in a parking lot and throwing a kick over Menachem Golan's head and saying, "Hey, put me in the movies." And all of a sudden he's in Bloodsport and doing all these things. That's what I wanted to do. So for me, as I pursued that dream and eventually got a film degree in North Carolina, I landed my first role in the movies. They built a movie studio in North Carolina, and that's where they shot Ninja Turtles. So I was in right place, right time, making things happen. And my first job out of college was being in the Ninja Turtle movie.
Wow. So how was that experience? Like they approached you and they were like, "Well, we'd like to cast you in it." I know in the first one, I think if I'm not mistaken, you were just the stunt double. Is that correct? And then the second one, you were fully cast as Raphael.
Well, I never like to use the term just, Dennis. I like to use the term I was the
True,
stunt
true.
performer and action performer for Raphael. What happens is there's four guys that play each turtle in a movie. There's a guy that wears an animatronic suit. And that suit has all the electronic servos in the head that make the face move and come alive. And then just off camera is the second guy, and that's a puppeteer from the Jim Henson Group. And they're using this very sophisticated remote control system to operate those servos in the animatronic head. So there's really two guys working in tandem to create what we called the first unit turtle or the animatronic turtle. There's a guy doing the body work and a guy controlling the face. Then a third guy wears a suit with no animatronics and does all the action and all the fighting for the turtle. And then when the movie's done, a fourth guy comes in and records the voice for the turtle. So in the first movie, I was actually hired by Pat Johnson, the stunt coordinator on the movie, because they were looking for local martial artists in North Carolina to be extras in the movie. And it turns out the extras were really the foot soldiers. And so all the foot soldiers in the first two Ninja Turtle movies, and first three really, are all just background performers. So they say, even though they're doing stunts and action. So they were termed what's called special abilities extras, and they were being paid the whopping amount of $75 a day
Wow.
before taxes. So I went down to the movie studio and I auditioned because I heard of what was going on. What happened was there was this whole sort of prequel. Um, I had a couple of years before that, a year before that, I disguised myself as a pizza delivery guy and snuck into the movie studio in Wilmington to try to meet some people, whoever those people might be. And I ended up meeting people who turned me on to what was going on and to eventually the Ninja Turtle movie. And so they called me up and said, "Hey, we're auditioning martial artists." So I showed up, I auditioned for Pat Johnson. I got the role as a foot soldier. And then by hook and by crook, I did all these things to try to catch Pat Johnson's attention, eventually becoming the fellow chucker that goes against Michelangelo. And he goes, "Oh, a fellow chucker, eh? I'm the guy in
Oh, that
black."
was you. That's awesome.
Yep. And so what happened was they were shooting the scene where Raphael meets Casey Jones in Central Park. And Casey Jones hits Raphael with a cricket bat. Raphael sails through the air and lands in a trash can. And when the guy who was this action performer for Raphael landed in the trash can, he broke his nose. And after that, he couldn't wear the turtle suit anymore. It wouldn't fit on his face because of the way the machinations of the way the whole thing sat down on your head. So they needed a new Raphael very quickly because there was a lot of action left to do in the movie. It was early on. And so Pat Johnson came to me and he said, "Ken, if you can fit in the Raphael suit, you're going to be the new Raphael." And I squeezed myself into that little Hong Kong stuntman's Raphael suit. And that was it. That changed my life.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. That's a cool story. That's amazing. So how was that experience playing like a character like Raphael?
It was exciting because all my dreams were coming true. It was hard work because it was working in a Ninja Turtle suit, which is like wearing a space suit and trying to perform, high level martial arts or any other athletics.
Yeah.
Um, but it was also a real test of my martial arts and my fortitude and my spirit because it was so physically oppressive that it just became okay, how do you do this and make it work and not let it break you down? Because those suits would get over to 100 degrees. We'd be sweating 5 to 10 pounds of water weight out every day, get dehydrated, all that stuff. So it was just about channeling your martial arts spirit and trying to overcome the challenges of being in the suit. And then it was super exciting to be working on a Hollywood movie with all the cool people and the sets. And again, it was always my dream to do that. And
Yeah.
here I was living it. So I always tell people the feeling I had working on the movie was similar to the feeling I get now if I ever watch shows like America's Got Talent and I see somebody win. And when they win, they break down in tears and they're overcome with emotion because it feels like all their dreams are coming true. And that's what it felt like for me too.
Yeah, that's incredible. Uh, you mentioned that it changed your life. Can you talk about that? Like how's that role basically gave you this identity for the rest of your life? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, you can tell it changed my life. Here we are 36 years later, and you and I are doing this podcast. Ninja Turtles was more than just a movie. A lot of movies come and go. Ninja Turtles was a whole new world. Um, it was like Harry Potter with lizards. It,
Hmm.
um, it again. I always use the term. It created a mythology for a generation and more. It really gave people a focus and a template by which kids could look at and live and treat their brothers and sisters and sort of overcome things. It had a real as I've learned over the years going to Comic Cons and meeting the fans and stuff, it had a very profound effect on many people. And so it changed my life in the sense that um, it didn't really help my acting career so much because I'm behind a rubber suit, so nobody can really see my face, and I don't really get any credit or anything like that. And as far as the industry is concerned, but it changed it in terms of, like you said, it gave me sort of a calling card that 36 years later people recognize. I'm traveling around the world. I'm meeting fans. I'm spending time with people that have become like my family to me, and it's really given me just a sort of a great tent pole kind of to have a big party in all for the last 35 years. Plus,
That's
it allowed me to do things like I wrote a book. You've asked me like, what was it like being a Ninja Turtle? Um, I wrote a whole book about it called Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtle, Becoming the Real Raphael. It was an Amazon bestseller. And I found over time that people really love to hear stories. What was it like working with Jim Henson? Were the suits hot? How was Vanilla Ice? Just so many questions ad infinitum. And me and my fellow turtles have told these stories over the years. We see how it captivates people, how they're intrigued, how they're interested. And I felt like if I could compile a lot of that into a book and share it with people, it would kind of be like I don't know. I say this and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I feel like it's like a gift to fans of the Ninja Turtle movies. They can take it and enjoy it. And so it's changed my life and it made me a successful author. It's allowed me to travel. It's allowed me to meet fans. But outside of the superficiality of that kind of stuff, of just saying things like, oh, I traveled and I wrote a book and all that kind of stuff, the human interaction that it's allowed me to have and the stories I've been able to hear, the time that I've been able to share with fans and spend with fans at cons. And, when me and my turtle brethren and sisters and April O'Neil and all that go to cons, it's not just a, hi, how are you doing? Here's an autograph. Thanks for coming. You get an opportunity. We spend a lot of time sitting and talking and getting to know people and finding out what Turtles has meant to them and how it's affected them, both um, how it's influenced them to overcome negative things in their life and how it's instilled positive things in their life. And when you do that enough and you meet enough people and you see enough people across the various spectrum of life, uh, it educates you, it changes you. And so when you say, how did it change my life? That's one of the things. I think it's the opportunities that it's given me has allowed me to grow as a human being.
yeah. That's I thank you for sharing that. I mean, kind of part of my podcast and why I've gotten passion towards doing this because it's about meeting people and learning from people and growing in life and getting different perspectives. And so I'm happy you brought that up because I think that's one of the most valuable things that we can have in our life is the interactions that we get with people and how we can rub off on each other and the positive things that can come from that. So I appreciate you bringing it up. But with that as well, like, do you feel like playing someone like Raphael, because it kind of that gave you this identity. Everybody looks at you like, oh, you're the Ninja Turtle. Do you feel like you sometimes have had a hard experience separating yourself from playing that character?
No, no, excuse me. Not so much separating myself. I think the only time it becomes, I don't even want to use the word negative because there's nothing negative about it. But the only time it's really kind of a, I don't know, maybe I'll just use the word challenge for lack of a better word, is I do enjoy meeting people. And oftentimes when I meet people, especially in my private life, they have no idea that that's what I did. They have no idea I was a Ninja Turtle. They just meet me as Kenn Scott. Hi, how you doing? We talk for a little while. And I enjoy that. I enjoy getting to know them. I enjoy being interested in them, and learning what I can, because the more I meet other people and learn about their experiences, the more it helps me and helps me grow. But sometimes what happens is one of my friends, meaning very well or something like that, will start the conversation right off or jump right in and go, "Hey, did you know Kenn was a Ninja Turtle?" And that
Mm.
starts us down a whole path right away about my journey and what I did and what I've done. And so rather than giving me an opportunity to be interested in others, it makes others now interested in me. And I start basically doing a podcast.
Yeah,
I start
yeah,
answering all the questions. Was it hot in that suit? What was it like? How did you get that
yeah.
job? All that. And so I would just say that um, I love having been Raphael. Sometimes, though, I like also being more ninja-like and being under the radar so
Yeah,
people don't know, because the moment that gets revealed, then it's all about that.
yeah,
And as much as it might sound ridiculous, and some people might say I'm full of shit, I don't always want it to be all about me.
yeah. No, I can totally understand that. It's a little bit challenging, right? Because you especially in a situation like that, you want to get to know other people, and when it does turn towards you, you're kind of repeating the same things that you've been saying over the years when you really wanted to kind of just get to know somebody else. So I can understand how that's a challenge, especially if you don't go into a conversation thinking that and you kind of get involved talking to somebody. So yeah, I can see how that's a challenge for sure.
Yeah, and again, I don't. It's a very small price to pay
Yeah,
for having done it, and I certainly don't mind it because everybody's interested in it.
yeah,
But it is kind of funny. My brother, when we were young, my brother, who's just a couple of years older than me, he decided he wanted to be a doctor, and I decided I wanted to be in the movies. And we both met our goals. He went to medical school, went to went to medical school for 8 years to go to general medical school and then to become a surgeon. And he's now a very successful hand surgeon. Very interesting, very well respected in his field. But if we go anywhere and we meet anybody, people are like, "Oh, you're a doctor. Very cool. Oh, you're a Ninja Turtle. Hey, can you tell me blah blah blah?"
yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting to see that. So
that
he and I have kind of a fun rivalry with that.
that's pretty entertaining. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good story. As far as like Raphael, like the character and who he is, he carries a lot of like, he's very intense, emotional, carries a lot of anger. How do you think that like represents on a deeper level that like people connect with?
Well, I think all four turtles represent one aspect that we all have in us. We all
Mhm.
have some Leo, some Donnie, some Mikey, some Raph. Um, but some are more prominent than others, right? And when people are growing up, and again, I'm speaking based on the education I've received after meeting Ninja Turtle fans for the last 36 years. So I'm certainly no expert in psychology, but I would say I'm an expert in Ninja Turtle fandom, based on what I've heard and learned over the years. And people identify with turtles for two reasons. They'll pick a particular turtle either because that's how they want to be and they fantasize about being like that. For instance, most people want to be like Michelangelo. They want to be cool and party and, hey, I'm a friendly guy and I joke a lot and do all this stuff, right? So a lot of people want to be like a particular turtle. But then the other thing is a lot of people are like a particular turtle. So you may have some guys like, for instance, Brian Tochi, who plays the voice of Leonardo in the movies. Whenever we're doing panels at Comic Cons, people say, "Hey, how do you identify with the turtle that you play?" And Brian, even though he's Leonardo in the movies, he is in real life Michelangelo. He's just fun and friendly and loves everybody. And if you're going to have a party or whatever, you want Brian Tochi there. He is an amazing guy like that. That other side where people sort of identify with the turtle because they see themselves or they see the turtle themselves. And then I see that personally because of being Raphael. I have a lot of people that will approach me. Excuse me. A lot of people will approach me and say, hey, I just want you to know Ninja Turtles has meant a lot to me. And I really identified with Raph because, I kind of have some anger issues. Or sometimes it's hard for me to deal with things and I get really, really mad. And I just feel like, Raph would understand me. So we kind of see both that. We see the aspirational turtle and then the turtle that you kind of represent in your own life. For me, personally, when I got the job on Ninja Turtles, I was very much like Raphael. I was not because I was angry, but because if I decided that I want something, I just went for it. I didn't bother to ask permission or wonder the best way to go about it. I just figured out whatever I was going to do. And then I broke down doors. Basically, on my way to trying to break into the movies, I had the Raphael like attitude. I wasn't going to let anybody tell me no. And I was just going to steamroll my way all the way to success. Now, later in life, after a whole lifetime of studying martial arts and psychology and spirituality and all that, I'm a little bit more of a Leo, leaning into hopefully Splinter like being myself. So I identify as a Raph Splinter.
That's so entertaining. That's so interesting that you say that because I kind of feel very similar to that. I was connected to Raphael a lot, and growing up, kind of understanding more of your traumas and working through a lot of those things in life. You understand where some of that anger comes from, and and then characters like Raphael kind of help you understand it's okay to be a little vulnerable, right? And to be expressive, and he's a very expressive character about how he feels. But you know interesting you bring up the Splinter part, because as we grow older and grow and become a little wiser, we kind of see uh that parts of ourselves as well. And so it's interesting. You bring up, you find yourself more like a Leo kind of character as well, because I think Leo was probably the most balanced out of all of them. um so it sounds like you found a lot more balance throughout your life. You say you found spirituality and all that. How did that come up for you throughout your life?
Well, I've been a martial artist since I was 12 years old. I continue to practice to this day. I've studied various systems and everything. And what comes along with that, if at least for me, going in depth into my practice becomes sort of an awakening and a study of spirituality. You start to study Buddhism and Taoism and a lot of Eastern kind of thought. And as I got into that over the last several decades, that leads into studying mythology and humanism and sociology and then religions and everything. And so the martial arts was kind of a pathway for me to study spirituality, study humanism and our own mythos. And sort of, it was like a gate, it was a doorway into my own development. The more I could understand and see, the more I could try to incorporate those things into my life. And it's been a long time coming. It's not an overnight kind of thing, but aware of those concepts and that kind of spirituality and stuff for a very, very long time. And just try to let it really guide my life. Martial arts has been, I always say it's the backbone of my life. It's the foundation of everything I do. It's what gives me my dedication, my drive, makes me understand discipline and respect, and then also my spirituality. So it just, you are what you do, right? You can say anything. You can always say, oh, I'm an actor, or I'm a writer, or I'm religious or spiritual, or whatever you say. But if you're just saying it and not doing it, you're not that. You're just saying it in words. Um, And so for me, one of the things I've learned through martial arts is that it's about having a practice. And practice is not always rehearsing things for a performance or to get better, like we think of practice, practicing your instrument or whatever. A practice is an ongoing thing that you do to try to develop your skills. In China, they use the term kung fu. We here in America think kung fu means martial arts, but it doesn't. What we call kung fu in China, they call wushu. Kung fu means basically time and effort. So whatever you put your time and effort into, you get better at. It could be golf, could be pickleball, could be calligraphy, could be martial arts, could be anything. As long as you put time and effort into something. So for me, my martial arts opened the doors into studying spirituality and all those things, I already kind of mentioned. And then understanding that in order to be a black belt at something, you need to practice it, study it, continually do it all the time. I took that same paradigm and applied it to my spirituality and my own personal growth and consistently try to read, educate myself, practice, all that kind of stuff.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Uh,
I have a
that's
lot to do.
incredible.
All right.
Did you are you still studying martial arts?
I'm having a hard time hearing you, Dennis. I don't
Oh,
know what happened.
can
I
you hear
saw
me?
something go down on the phone there.
Oh, can you hear me at all? No?
Okay. All right, go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Let me know if you can't hear me.
All right. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. I'm not sure if that was on my end or not. I was just. Oh, do you still study martial arts?
I do. I started in 1979 studying Goju-Ryu karate, which is what Miyagi teaches Daniel San in the Karate Kid
Oh,
movies,
cool.
basically speaking. And then I went on a long lifetime journey of studying Shaolin and Taoist Kung Fu, American Kempo, Tai Chi, some Muay Thai, a little bit of Polynesian Lima Lama, and now I currently study Ishinryu Karate, another Okinawan form.
Hmm. What got you into martial arts? Did it run in the family, or did you kind of just you just felt the pull towards it?
When I was a kid, like somebody, probably, I don't know, 10, 11 years old, I was playing soccer like so many kids in America. And every Saturday when I went to the local community center where the soccer fields were, I would walk through the gym, and every Saturday morning there were all these people in white pajamas jumping around and kicking and punching and all that stuff. And I just thought it was super cool. I knew that it was karate. I had never really seen it in person before. And I really was just fascinated by it. Excuse me. And then there, we were in school. I was a small kid, so I get pushed around every once in a while, a little bit like this. And then I saw one of my friends get pushed around in the seventh grade. And just as the kid went to push him again, my friend leaned back, raised his foot up, and kicked the guy right in the head. And I thought, man, that was super cool. So I found out he took karate at that very community center. So I went to my dad and I thought, hey, Dad, I really want to take karate. Can I do this? And my dad was like, no. He goes, this is going to be just like every other thing. You're going to, just like model trains and model race cars and all this, you're going to start it, you're going to get into it, and then you're just going to quit and go on to something else. I was like, no, no, I'm really interested. So he said no. So I went to the library and I got a karate book. And I went out in the backyard. I took off my shoes. I opened the book, put it on top of a trash can, and I sat there trying to learn reverse punches and high blocks and just literally trying to learn karate out of a book, just like Ralph Macchio and the Karate Kid. And ultimately, my dad saw that I was really into this and wanted to try it. So he came out and he said, okay, you can take karate. At the time, it was $15 a month to take karate. He said, you can take karate and I'll pay for it. But if you quit, you owe me for the months that I have paid before you quit. And I was 12 years old. I didn't care. I was like, okay, let's do it. So I went into karate and started, and that started a lifelong thing. And it was funny. I would go back to my dad 15, 20 years later, and I'm like, Dad, if I stop practicing now, do I owe you for every month all the way back?
That's hilarious. That's a good story. Thank you for sharing that. That's pretty cool. did you, so like myself, like, Ninja Turtles was really influential, like growing up for me. Not, started with the cartoons and then the movies and all that. Oh, did you have like, because you mentioned the Karate Kid a couple times, did you have like an influence like that that was really influential to you as well, like growing up?
In the movies?
Yeah.
Yes, all the Sho Kosugi ninja movies from Canon Films, um, Chuck Norris movies, and then Jean-Claude Van Damme came out. I think it was 1985. If it wasn't 85, it was 86 when Bloodsport came out, maybe 84. One of those years right there. Um, and that was right when I was graduating high school and well into karate, right around the time I was getting my black belt. And so I looked at him and I was just like, here's a white guy who's in pretty good shape, who can't even speak English that great, and he's a movie star doing martial arts. So I felt like the bar was achievable. I felt like there was an achievable goal there for me. I didn't have to be Asian like Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan or anybody like that. There was a Chuck Norris, there was a Jean-Claude Van Damme. So in a way, those guys kind of set the path for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I guess as long as you're not like doing splits like Jean-Claude Van Damme does in his movies, right?
Hey, if I could do that, that'd be awesome, man. My
Yeah.
goal is I used to work out like crazy. I made a movie called Showdown back in 1994, and that was like my blood sport. Really,
Yeah.
really my Karate Kid.
Yeah.
And I got in amazing shape for that. Better shape than a high school kid would be in. But I had 5.3% body fat. I mean, I was shredded, man. I looked and I used to pose just like Jean-Claude Van Damme in his movies and on his posters and stuff like that. And actually took a couple of publicity photos where I'm imitating his poses, specifically the one that he does on the poster for Lionheart.
Yeah.
And then years later, I'd be working for that same company, Imperial Entertainment, who made Lionheart, and they produced a movie called Showdown that I starred in. So I was like walking down the hall one day, and there's the Lionheart poster, and there's my poster, and I was like, "Oh, look at this! I made it! I did it!"
You must have felt so lucky to experience all that, or just be, it almost seemed like you were at the right place at the right time. Like there's so many
Yeah,
parts of your life.
I would say it was right place, right time, but it was sort of like that old thing about luck is when preparation meets opportunity. I didn't just stumble into it. I set my goals, like we said before, like Raphael, I just steamrolled right towards it. I did everything I needed to do. Like in order to, when I got the job in Ninja Turtles, one of my first steps in getting it was again, I dressed up like a pizza delivery guy and snuck into a movie studio. And that's how I met people who eventually hooked me up and I got connected and so on and so forth. So I kind of had, as they say, a chutzpah. I had balls to do that kind of stuff. After Ninja Turtles, I was having a hard time being recognized for my work because, again, I was behind a foam latex turtle suit, so nobody could see me. But I didn't want to be a turtle performer, a dinosaur, or a monkey, or anything like that. I wanted to be the next Jean-Claude Van Damme. So I looked at what Jean-Claude did, and again, that story that he went into a parking lot, he met a producer and threw a kick and said, "Put me into movies," and it all worked. I I put together. This is back in the days of VHS videotape. I put together a reel of me doing a fight scene in the park with a friend of mine. And then I went to, this is before computers too, before everybody's the internet or anything. So I went to what used to be Kinko's, and I literally printed up fake stationery and created a fake management company. I printed up business cards with a fake manager. Um, and I wrote this letter that said, Kenn Scott is the greatest thing since sliced bread. He's an actor, he's a martial artist, he was a Ninja Turtle, and now he's ready for the next challenge to be the next, action hero star. And I put together 15 different packages and I did my research. I got VHS tapes and I watched all the martial arts movies that you could get in the late 80s and early 90s, all the Don the Dragon Wilson movies and Billy Blanks and Cynthia Rothrock and all that. And I would look at who the producers were in the credits. And then I would do my research, find out where those producers had offices, put together these packages with the fake letter and the fake manager and all this stuff, put on a baseball hat and sunglasses, acted like my own courier delivery service, and then delivered these packages all over town to these different companies that made martial arts movies. And it just so happens one of the companies I delivered it to was Imperial Entertainment, the people that made Lionheart with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Angel Town with Olivier Gruner. And within a week of getting that package, Imperial Entertainment called the number, asked to speak to my fake manager. I put my roommate on the phone. He pretended to be a manager, and I got my first meeting, and that meeting turned into Showdown. So
Wow.
it was right place, right time, but it was because I was putting forth the effort and making the things happen to try to create those opportunities.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. It's really inspiring to me because a few years back, I kind of got back on this journey about realizing that I kind of want to become a movie director. And I was kind of started doing short films and stuff. And then I realized I have no connections, nothing, but I'm continuing to like pursue and, pushing myself, doing all the research. I'm actually in the middle of writing a Ninja Turtle script because I've had this vision of this film for like the last 10 years, so I was like, I need to start writing this down. But anyways, your story, it's really inspiring to me to kind of just keep pushing and doing the research, doing all the hard work that most people don't see, and know about. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you know what's great about today, like your journey, is you don't really need to have connections anymore. You have the internet. You
Yeah.
can, and now you have friggin' AI and editing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Anybody can almost make anything now, and if you have a creative bone in your body and you can produce good quality content, as soon as things start going viral, people start signing record deals and directing movies and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's more opportunity now than there ever was before.
Yeah.
For me, I literally had to break through legitimate, real, literal doors to go meet people.
Yeah.
Now today, you don't have to do that. You just have to start a Instagram account and a YouTube channel and Facebook or whatever your TikTok, whatever your weapon of choice is. And if you can produce content that is of quality that people want to see, there's no reason you can't get discovered and sign deals and make product and get sponsored. You can even monetize it yourself now. So there's a never before has been opportunity for creatives in the film and television world like there is now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. However, I will say there's the market's kind of flooded in some degree too. Everybody wants to start a podcast. Everybody wants to be an influencer. Everybody, wants to do the same things, and which creates its own set of challenges. But you're right. It's got to be also quality. Well, I don't know if I can always say that too, because there's a lot of stuff that's not quality that also, a lot of people pay attention to as well. But
That's important. The mediums that we're using now are changing the way people consume media
yeah,
and it's changing the standards to which people hold themselves. I hate to say it, and I'm not trying to be sour grapes on anybody, but I'm a digital immigrant. So I grew up without the internet, without cell phones, and without all that stuff. So I'm the last, me and my generation are the last of this. Everybody after us, born with cell phones, always known them, always that kind of stuff. Um, but really, there literally is a dumbing down of what's going on, and I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Idiocracy.
yep,
I believe it was Mike Judge that wrote and directed that movie from the Beavis and Butthead guy.
yep,
And what in that movie, the sort of thing that's so funny about it is everybody watches the same TV show called Ow My Balls. And it's basically just people getting hit in the balls and
yeah,
everybody laughing, which is like, the statement he's making is this is the lowest form of humor that you can possibly have, but this is where we're at.
yeah,
That's where we've come to now. And it's very disheartening for me and for older, and I'm sure for current, generations as well. It's disheartening that the Hawk Tuah girl is who she is. And that's what people are looking for, and that's what people are entertained by. And it's disheartening that people are going out into public places and pranking other people
mhm,
and making people their unwitting the butt of their jokes and then just throwing it up on YouTube and that's how they're becoming influencers. Um, I could go on and on and on about this, but I think it really speaks to the idiocy of a lot of people out there. And I'm praying that people like yourself and others can maybe keep the bar up a little bit and try to get people to think and to grow and to be creatively challenged rather than catering or pandering to the lowest common denominator. That's too common now.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I speak to my wife about it all the time. I was born in '82, so I was also in that generation where we didn't have any. We knew what it was. We literally say the exact same things all the time. We have this conversation. Where our generation is the last generation that knew what it was before the internet, and we know how it is with the internet. But we kind of do a really good job of growing alongside with it. And unlike our children's generation, they kind of are born with it in their hands. And I think we have a different appreciation and outlook on that, and we understand a lot of these things as a tools, not necessarily a necessity of life. And so thank you for bringing that up, because it's really important. And part of the reason that influenced me to create a podcast like this, because I think there's more deeper conversations to be had. Even with one thing I wanted to do when I came on to the podcast with you is not ask you the same questions that everybody asks you. I wanted to kind of get to know you a little bit more and get people to understand who you are, like on a deeper level, rather than like, oh, how was it, wearing the suit and all that. So I appreciate, some of the personal stories that you've told.
Right on. Well, you and I can get off our soapbox now and stop telling people how to deal with the internet.
Yeah. Well, I just want to touch back one more time before we get off. Just kind of circle back onto Raphael a little bit, and kind of just want to. How did you prepare for that role? Did you feel like you were already kind of like, yeah, this is kind of, you know, my identity already, so it was easy for me? Or did you feel like you kind of changed your personality to fit that role more?
Well, when I got the job in the first Ninja Turtle movie, it was completely based on my martial arts ability that I already had. I was a competitive martial artist traveling around the country. Um, Ultimately, at least having enough talent that I could, as I proved by becoming Raphael, I had at least enough talent to stay on board and work alongside other, dare I say, world-class martial artists. So my martial arts is what got me the job. I didn't really have to do any preparation. I was already there, I'd been training, and I was following my dreams. When the second movie rolled around, Josh Pais, who was the amazing animatronic suit actor in the first movie, did not return for the second movie. So I went from being the action stunt turtle to becoming the animatronic suit performer in the second movie. And that was a little bit more of a performance-based, um, dramatic performance, I should say. And so in that, I had to really learn how to use my body to emote through a rubber suit. Fortunately, everybody who was a Ninja Turtle had some movement background. Michelin Sisti was a dancer. David Foreman, who was Leonardo in the first movie, was an acrobat, like a world-class acrobat. In the second movie, Mark Casso was an Olympic gymnast, and I was a martial artist. So we all had movement backgrounds that allowed us to communicate with our bodies. But it was kind of incumbent upon me to figure out how to become this kind of streetwise turtle and also have that show through 3 inches of foam latex. And so we spent a lot of time working, going to London and working with the puppeteers at the Jim Henson Creature Shop to try to develop our characters. We had to work in tandem with the puppeteer so that the face and the body were communicating things in a unified message. As I sit here and talk to you, some people may just be listening, but if anybody's watching us, I can be expressive. I can talk with my hands, I can point, I can do things, but those things are synchronized and working alongside what I'm saying. My hands aren't doing one thing while I'm trying to communicate something totally different. So we went through different drills and games and all that stuff to kind of create that one character and come into harmony to be one thing. So there was some training that went on there, and yeah, that was basically it. So if you watch the second movie, Secret of the
Yeah.
Ooze, there's a scene where Leonardo and Raph are in the sewer, and it's when Raph finally says, "You know what? I'm out of here," and he takes off, and that's when he gets caught. He hooks
Yeah.
up, and gets caught. Well, when Raph turns and walks away, you can very distinctly see the kind of Raphael walk that's going on. And that was a very deliberate kind of, pantomime of walking to create a character. So without training or thinking about, without having done all those things, all those moments may not have happened. So that was the kind of prep we had to do versus like dramatic research on what Raphael went through as a baby turtle or anything
Yeah.
like
That's really cool. I actually just saw the movie in the theaters because it just had the re-release recently, but rewatching it now, I'll have a whole new perspective when I watch
that.
it. So that's pretty cool. Kind of a different question, but I kind of wanted to ask you in the second film. I just recently discovered in a scene that Michael Jai White was in it. Um, and did you get to meet him? And I don't know if he was just kind of an extra on the set or.
He was just an extra. Nobody knew who Michael Jai White was at that particular point.
Yeah,
He was just a guy in New York and, showed up and was there, didn't say anything.
yeah,
He didn't talk to me. I mean, I didn't talk to him.
yeah,
There was no reason that he would be um, outstanding in any way other than just, being a good looking guy hanging out on the set
yeah,
there. But other than that, he was just another dude.
yeah. That's cool. I just wanted to ask. I'm a huge fan of his as well, so I figured
Yeah,
I'd
he's
ask you about
very,
that.
very, very talented martial artist. I have a
Yeah,
lot of respect for Michael Jai White.
yeah, for sure. So are you working on any projects or future films or anything like that coming up in the future?
I got two things in the works. I'm writing a second book right now. Hopefully I'll have it done by the end of the summer and it'll be out. Um, and then I'm just now starting to work with some of my colleagues here to possibly produce a film. It's in its very early developmental talking stages right now, but I've been out of the industry for a little while, but seeing all the potential opportunity that's out there and having the resources that I have and the people that I'm able to call on, I'm starting to get that itch again to kind of do something. So we'll see. That's about all I can say about it,
Okay.
but we'll see if anything happens. But I'm very excited about the book. Creatively speaking, that's the thing I'm most involved in right now. And my goal is to have it out hopefully by the end of the summer, if not, maybe in the fall.
Do you mind sharing what that book is about, or is it kind of private at this
Well, the
point?
first book is autobiographical. It's all the inner, what I believe are, and I guess what hopefully Amazon reviews have proven is correct. It's all the entertaining stories of how I got the job as Raphael and then all the behind the scenes stories of making the movie. It's a it's a very funny, if I do say so myself, it's a very funny, fast book. I've been a writer my whole life. It's what I did professionally in the marketing world and things after the business. So um I'm very proud of my book, Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtle. People can go on Amazon and just type in my name, Ken with two N's, Kenn Scott book, or they can go to turtleconfessions.com. And if you go to turtleconfessions.com, there's links to Amazon to buy the book. It's also in Audible, and it's me telling all the stories in the book. So I'm really proud of that first book. The first book ends as soon as we finish shooting the second Ninja Turtle movie and I get on a plane to fly from North Carolina to Los Angeles to pursue the rest of my dreams to be an action hero in the movies. The second book starts as I get off that airplane in Los Angeles, and then everything I did to what I shared with you about creating my own management company to get my job in Showdown. I eventually raised money and produced and directed my own martial arts film. And it's just all the wacky adventures of what I did in Hollywood, hopefully told in an entertaining and funny manner for people.
That's awesome. I definitely make sure that I'll pick it up, and it'll be available on Amazon.
That one, the first one is available on Amazon. The second one will be available sometime later this year.
Awesome. And now, if anybody wanted to try to like meet you in person, you say you go to a lot of Comic Cons or things like that. Do you have like a schedule or a place that people can find out where you go, or
Yeah,
how does that work?
the best thing people can do is just go on social media, and you can go to my Instagram is Kenn Scott Official. It's really easy to find. It's the only Kenn Scott with a picture of a Ninja Turtle on it. But again, Ken is spelled with two N's. So if you go to Kenn Scott Official, or if you happen to be an old person like me and you're still on Facebook, you can go to Kenn Scott-Raphael, and the same content is posted across those channels. But constantly on that Instagram, if anybody's interested in the Ninja Turtle movies, I would highly encourage them to go to my Instagram and follow my Instagram, because I'm constantly posting behind the scenes photos, clips, um, but never before seen footage from the movies. I recently posted various takes of Raphael on the roof doing the fight scene, and you can actually hear the puppeteers talking and all that kind of stuff. I posted outtakes of me doing the nunchucks, the fellow chucker. So there's all kinds of interesting content, or what I believe is interesting, and again, the fans seem to like it, that they can find on my Instagram. So Kenn Scott Official on Instagram, Kenn Scott-Raphael on Facebook, and turtleconfessions.com on the website. And then that you can find me at Comic Cons. The reason to go there is I'm constantly announcing where I'm going to be in Comic Cons. The rest of this year, I'm going to be in Philadelphia in May, and then Boston and Chicago and Edmonton and San Francisco, Long Beach. I mean, it just goes on and on.
Thank you for saying that. I'll make sure to post those links when I put the
Right
video
on.
together, for sure. And I want to say, before we get off, the way I initially got in touch with you as well was through Instagram. And, not everybody gets back to people. So I want to appreciate, thank you and appreciate the fact that you took the time out to respond to me. It shows me, how genuine of a person you are, and that you truly just like to get to know people. And, you have, the industry hasn't made you, a person that you think you're too big for anybody. So I appreciate that, you still seem very humble and down to earth. So, it's been an honor to be able to have a conversation with you, and I appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Dennis. It's also my honor to talk to you. So I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm glad we can make this happen. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you. And hopefully maybe we'll have another conversation again in the future. I really appreciate it.
Right on. Cowabunga, dude.
Cowabunga.